This is the only advice you need with business success speaker, Matt Hyams. Today we're talking about how to discover what your weaknesses are. We're going to talk about feeling comfortable naked, calling people that don't like you, and discovering if you actually have a body. All right, let's do this. Identify your greatest weakness. Everyone knows what their strength is, but how do you know what your weakness is? You got to know what your weaknesses are if you want to get to the top. All right. Now, the first thing is, where are you messing up in life? How's your family life? How's your home life? How's your work life? Who likes you? Who doesn't like you? Find the people who don't like you and figure out why they don't like you. What is it about you they don't like? That's probably where your weakness lies. Start there first. So ask people who don't like you what they don't like about you. That's the best way to find out what your weakness is. Now, I'm not going to say these calls are going to be pleasant. They're not, because you're going to have to call people and say, why don't you like me? And they're going to say, why are you calling me? And you're going to say, I want to know what my weaknesses are. And be prepared for them to say, you're a stupid idiot, which is something that was said to me when I did this experiment. And I said, that's not specific. So you got to ask them to work with you. And I said, what I said was, I'm not a stupid idiot. And they said, yes, you are. So I said, look, can you be more specific? Because that's not going to help me grow my business. And they said to me, why do I care if you grow your business? I think you're an idiot. And I said, you've made that perfectly clear. But look, whether I'm an idiot or not, and they said, you are an idiot. I said, okay, they cut me off. I said, look, give me a chance here. Can we get behind the idiot? What are the factors that make me an idiot? So ask these people that don't like you why they think you're an idiot. What makes you an idiot? And what you might hear are things like, you didn't invite me to your baby shower. Or whenever we go out to dinner, you order a lot of drinks. Or whenever you pass mirrors, you look at yourself and you don't look at me. You never look at me. And that was something that was said to me. And I said, well, why can't I look at myself? And they said, because you're a narcissist. And I said, and you always look at yourself. They said, you should look at me more often. I said, well, if we're together and I'm passing by a mirror, maybe I'm just looking at myself just to see if I look all right. And then since I'm spending time with you already, I will be looking at you. Why do I need to be looking at you the whole time? And they said, you wanted to know why I think you're an idiot, and this is why, because you don't look at me enough. And when there's a chance to look at me in the mirror, you choose to look at yourself in the mirror rather than look at me in the mirror. And I like it when people pass mirrors and they look at me instead of themselves, which I didn't know. I've never heard this before. And I said, well, that might be a you problem. That might be your weakness. And that's what's so great about this exercise is it becomes a reciprocity game. When you ask people what your weaknesses are, you'll often find out what theirs are too. And then if you want to go deeper, you can form a Facebook group. Tell the world, I'm looking to find out what my weaknesses are. And through my weaknesses, I will point out what your weaknesses are. And this is a really fun group to be a part of. I'm part of at least 12 weakness Facebook groups. People love to point out the weaknesses in others. And though many have trouble admitting it, they love to hear what theirs are too. Show me someone who says, I don't want to know what my weaknesses are or have anyone tell me, and I'll show you a liar. Anyone who says, I don't know what my weaknesses are or I don't want to know what my weaknesses are, they're lying. So you have to bulldoze them through this process. They say, no, I don't want you to tell me what my weaknesses are. You say, I hear you saying no, but I'm also hearing yes. And if they say, well, where are you hearing yes? You say, I'm hearing yes behind the no. And they might say, but I only said no. There is no behind. And you got to say, I know, but I hear like a whisper of a yes behind the no's. So I'm going to tell you what your weaknesses are anyway. And then give them a chance to tell you what your weaknesses are as well. It's a reciprocity. You got to go both ways. So as an example, I used this reciprocity game with that friend of mine who said I look at myself in mirrors too much and not at them enough in the mirrors. I said, well, we've actually uncovered a weakness of yours. Because why do you need someone to look at you through a mirror if I'm already looking at you in person? And they said, I like the way I feel through a reflective glass, otherwise known as a mirror. And I said, is that why you don't hang out with me anymore? And they said, I don't hang out with you anymore because you're cheap. And I said, well, wait a second. Is my weakness that I'm cheap or that I don't look at you in mirrors? And they said, well, first you don't look at me in mirrors. Then when we finally get to where we're going, you don't want to spend any money. So I said, okay, so I'm a cheap narcissist is what you're saying. And they said, yeah, you're a cheap narcissist. Okay, so weakness number one. Now I know something. I said, okay, well, that's very helpful to me. Here's where the reciprocity comes in. And I said, I might say that you're sort of a needy spendthrift. That's the opposite, right? And they said, well, I wasn't asking you to tell me what my weaknesses are. You're the one who called me. And I said, I know, but it'll be helpful for your business. And they said, I don't have a business. I'm just an employee. I said, well, if you ever do have a business, now you know you're a needy spendthrift. And they said, well, I'm not going to have a business. But I hung up at that point because I was done with this game. And I already gotten the information that I need. So that's a good opportunity to not only know what your weaknesses are, but to also tell people what theirs are too, which people really like. And that's a great way to spend time. That's growth. Other telltale signs of weaknesses, are you in the way? You know, are you the person in a line that people who aren't in the line use as the point to walk through in the line, to get through the line? Are you always used as a pathway through the line? Why don't they choose the person behind you? Why are you always the person to be the point at which they walk through the line? That might be because maybe you're a pushover. Maybe they see this as an easy place to be. They spot you. They think this is someone I can easily cut in front of just to get through. And if this is you, stop these people when they're about to pass through the line in front of you and say, hey, why did you use me as the walkway river through this line to get through? So this was me many years ago, and I did ask that question one day. And the person I asked was startled when they heard my voice. It was a man. He said to me, I'm sorry, I didn't even know you were there. I saw a person here and I saw a person there, and then just a big gap of space. And what happened was that they didn't even see me as a presence. They didn't see me as a physical entity. So that was a weakness of mine, is that I didn't see that I didn't exist. So people were using me as the point in the line to cut through. And when I heard that, I said, I get it. I have to start manifesting a body. And then I thought of all the wasted time spent standing in line when I didn't even have a body. I could have just gone straight through. I shouldn't have waited to get on a train or paid for anything. I could have just stolen everything. So that was a big weakness of mine. I was acting like I had a physical form. So I had weaknesses in the world of forms, and I had weaknesses in the formless world. My biggest weakness in the formless world was that I didn't realize I was formless. And I didn't use my formlessness to the fullest extent, like not waiting in lines or stealing things. But no one in the formless world would tell me I was formless, because the formless don't care about weaknesses. And that's a weakness of the formless. Their weakness is they don't care about weakness. But there's also a lot of don't be like, oh, I'll go to the formless world. No, there's a lot of suffering in the formless world because they don't know they don't have forms. So they're walking around wondering why forms aren't responding to them. Oh, so I'm dead to you is a phrase you hear a lot walking around the formless world. Anyway, I didn't know I had a form. I didn't know that I didn't have a form, and I was acting like I did. And so when I asked that guy, why did you choose me as the point where you were going to walk through this line? He said, I don't know what I'm talking to. But if I were to answer whatever this is that I'm hearing, I would say it's that I didn't know there was something here. I just see a hole. So find out if one of your weaknesses is that people just see holes in space when they look at you, because you're probably making people feel crazy. If you're saying things and they can't see you, that's going to make people feel crazy. And I know this for a fact because that's what they said to me. They said, you're making me feel crazy because I can hear you, but I can't see you. And that was also hurting my business at the time because I was getting a lot of bad Google reviews, a lot of negative Google reviews, 1 stars. People posted reviews saying, watch out for this business. That would be the subject. And so you can hear them, but you can't see them. So I had to really start focusing on being part of the formful world, the world of forms, so people would have something to look at. And people, here's a little life lesson, people want to address someone that they can see and hear. So to conclude, do you have a form? If you don't, manifest one fast. So how else can you figure out what your weaknesses are? Well, what are your strengths? Because whatever you're good at, the opposite is going to be a weakness. So for instance, are you good at getting dressed? Well, then you're probably terrible at being naked. You probably cower in the back of a dumpster in a parking lot if you're naked. How you ended up there is another story. Probably from a string of weaknesses. Sidebar, cautionary tale, if you don't work on your weaknesses, get ready to end up naked behind the dumpster of a Chinese takeout. But that's how uncomfortable you are that being naked, you can't even boldly say, here I am, these are my genitals. And when you're so good at being dressed, it means the opposite is that you're not good at being undressed. So you have to practice taking things off. Not in the office necessarily, unless you work in that kind of an atmosphere, like a porn office. When I was working at Bookworm Bitches, we would often try that undressing method. But if you don't work at Bookworm Bitches, then don't try this undressing method. And I think they went out of business anyway. They ran out of Bookworm Bitches to find. Now, it's not appropriate for offices, but if you do have to figure out a way to get comfortable getting dressed in public, because being undressed in public, because not being comfortable being naked is going to follow you wherever you go. And it's going to manifest externally in different ways. People are going to sniff it out and be like, yeah, he has a nice suit on, but he's not comfortable in it. The shoulders are boxy. The crotch is too long. The cuffs are too short or too long. The shoes are too weird. The tie is messy. It's going to come out. That's the thing. When you try to hide your weaknesses, they come out anyway. Your body and mind are going to tell you what your weaknesses are, and they're going to tell everyone else too. If you've got a headache, then your weakness is living. The headache's saying, you're not good at being alive, at being a human being. If you've got ankle pain, your weakness is your legs. You got to strengthen your legs or get rid of them. If, for instance, you have an anal fissure, then on a superficial level, you're not good at shitting. But on a deeper level, there's something you're afraid of that you're trying to conceal. Your body is trying to repair the weakness that you're hiding. So if your anus is splitting open, then it means you're trying to conceal something from the world. So are you being so secretive, so overly protective with your secrets that your anus has to tear open? And your body's going to create these problems for you, and you're going to tear your anus open. When you have weaknesses that you're trying to hide, if you're overly protective of your secrets and you're all bunched up inside, well, then the anus is going to spill everything out. And you won't have a choice but to let everyone know, because they're going to smell it on you anyway. So these are just a few tips on how to identify your weaknesses so you can be a huge success. All right, I hope this helped, and I'll see you next week.